Creating a free version of your WordPress theme or plugin is an excellent way to get more users, many of whom will hopefully upgrade to become paying customers. However, it can go very wrong if you end up giving away too many free features so that people have no reason to upgrade or that you can't afford to support your free product. So, how do you find the right balance?
This is WP Product Talk, a place where every week we bring you insights, product marketing, business management and growth, customer experience, product development, and more. It's your go-to podcast for WordPress product owners by WordPress product owners. And now, enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Katie Keith from Barn2 Plugins.
And I'm Zach Katz from Gravity Kit and Trusted Login.
And today we're talking about how many features you should put in a freemium theme or plugin.
And that's why we've invited Daniel today. Daniel, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself and what do you do?
I'm the founder of Code Atlantic. I've been writing WordPress plugins for about 10 years now, 11 years now. I've created popular plugins including Popup Maker, content control, user menus, and a couple others, most of which are freemium.
And how many users do you have? How many active users do you have on your .org plugins? Because that's really the context in which we're going to be talking a lot about today.
Somewhere around 950, almost 1 million across all of them.
Wow.
It's a lot of users.
Yeah.
So Katie, why is this topic important to talk about?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned in the introduction, having a free version of your theme or plugin is a good marketing opportunity, but it can go very wrong if you end up giving away so much that it's not financially viable for you to offer that for free. And as the WordPress community, we need to discuss and help each other out to find the right balance between having a free plugin that is genuinely useful and gets good reviews, and then people will give you a good reputation, and also giving away so much that it's like there's no reason to upgrade because the free version is perfect and has all the features anybody could possibly want. And then you end up being crippled by the demands of the free users, and it can go wrong either way. So we need to get together, share our stories, and talk about the right balance. What do you think, Daniel, about the topic?
Well, since I've been down this path already for the last 10 years, we've definitely already given away too much a few times. It's a tricky one because the amount of promotion that you can gain from being the best available product is not comparable to any other source realistically. And then when you don't put enough features in there, it's hard to become that number one product. So the real balance is deciding how much do I have to give to prevent me from not being number one result versus how much can I keep back without piss on everybody off. Sorry about it. But yeah, it's definitely a fine line to walk.
And then there's always the concern that I have. I've had free plugins on the WordPress repository, now the WordPress plugin directory, and there's the fear of if I add this feature into my free plugin and I want to take it out in the future and move it to my paid only, how is that something you can even do, Daniel?
Not successfully. There's been a couple that have tried, and every time it results in the same thing. It's review bombs, essentially. You can watch a plugin that has 500 to 1,000 5-star reviews go to 30% of those being 1 stars overnight. It really depends on how much how much of importance that feature that you took away had to the base user group. I mean, if you took away something that 90% of the users are using, you're going to set off a chain reaction.
So let's go into a bit more detail with the story time section. So Daniel, can you tell us more about your story of free plugins? You mentioned you've been going down this path for 10 years. Are you implying that you've given away too many free features and regretting it?
Borderline. Yes, I've definitely done that. We have some awesome products. And my traditional path of building a new product is to kind of do the research on what everybody else is doing, what's available, and then I literally try to fill every gap that they're missing. I look at the support tickets and the things that they're not doing well, and then we just make sure ours does everything that theirs is doing, plus everything that they're failing to do. The problem is a lot of times those gaps are intentional, and sometimes when you fill them um, really quickly at that point in time, especially in the free version, it's hard to recover from that. Um, at the same time, we've done a good job of over the last probably 5 years of learning that balance a lot better. The first 5 years were probably spent too much giving away and not enough time really analyzing what was happening with it. But Popup Maker, we created pretty much the best pop-up plugin available. We put every feature that was needed in there, and compared to every other competitor. And then we saved back a few that we knew were valuable, like exit intent, things like that. But we did put a lot of stuff in there that the majority of our users want and need. I guess is the way to say it. But we could have held back a little bit to give ourselves a little bit of a strategic advantage on the profit margin side. But the majority of our users were using it for things like click triggers and stuff like that. So we wanted to make sure that the out of the box use for the average user was perfect, and then focus on upselling to the 5, 10, 15% of users who needed more.
You mentioned kind of analyzing a list of features and doing it really intellectually, and using data to kind of here are the feature lists, here's what we have, here's what we don't have, here's what people are using. Like, can you talk more about what thought processes go behind what you decide to include, what you decide to hold back, what you now regret, and why you regret it? Like, what are the different parts that people can consider when they're talking about creating new features, and whether it's giving away too much?
Absolutely. So the first thing I consider is how many of my percentage of users are going to use this, or is this a completely new use case that nobody is actually doing with my product already? If it's a completely new use case, you have a lot of flexibility. If it's something that ties into what everybody else is already doing, you kind of have to follow the flow of what you've already put down in your previous things. If you've got a bunch of stuff that, trying to think of an example off the top of my head. If you got a bunch of stuff that we're just going to go with cats. If you find a bunch of stuff that deals with cats in your free plugin and you're introducing dog features, well, you can kind of hold those back completely for a premium product. But if you're adding, color schemes for cats, it's going to be real weird if you have everything else for cats in there and that's not available. Beyond that, you look at the value driving possibilities of it. Is this a feature that saves somebody a bunch of time? Is this a feature that makes somebody a bunch of extra money? Or is this just a simple utility that reduces the number of plugins that they've got to install? If there's a lot of value potential, I always try to hold it back at this point. If it's a utility kind of thing, we tend to just throw those in the free version. Is they're great keyword drags. They're great reasons for people to use you over someone else. And then the last step is to kind of go through, if you've got ticket history, if you've got user history, if you've got a user base you can touch with, then you kind of want to reach out and see, is there any palette for this feature? If there's people asking for it regularly, then you probably have a market to sell it as a premium feature because they're reaching out to you, so they have a taste for it. So once you fill that need, they see the value increase in your product, and it just makes it much more palatable to buy.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of went for the Twitter strategy of getting as many users as possible and then figure out the monetization later. Is that fair?
Well, wasn't intentional.
But probably before they were doing that or whatever. But
Yeah.
what would you do differently if you started now? You're talking about being strategic. What would change if you started again now?
There's a few features in Popup Maker for sure we would have held back. Things like the subscription forms probably would have been held back entirely because we already worked with every form plugin, so we didn't really need to put those out there. And then another big one would have been the Boolean rule engine. We probably could have got away with a much simpler system for the free version, and then replaced it in the pro version with the more complicated, capable editor, which would have limited integration capabilities to the pro version, for example, because a lot of the third-party integrations that we have right now are, even the ones that are created by other people, are through targeting rules. They're custom rules for different LMSs and different e-commerce systems. So if we had locked all of that to a premium feature only, that rule editor, then all of that would have been tied into the monetization of the product as well. But you live and you learn.
For me, I've built my career so far on top of other products that are already premium. So my first WordPress plugin that was in that I sold was IDX Plus, which is based on DSID Express plugin, which is like a real estate plugin that realtors paid for a subscription for the IDX feed, which is the feed of all the houses. And there was a plugin that connected that functionality, and so I built on top of that and and modified the output and added a bunch of additional functionality to enhance that output. So I've always been kind of in the place of assuming that my customers and my users are already paying for something else, which is a really nice thing to have when you're in the WordPress ecosystem, where you can't assume that is the case. So even so, I still, when I built free add-ons for Gravity Forms, I would just add a bunch of functionality when people requested. I just add. And I got to a certain point with Gravity Forms directory plugin, which was free on .org, that it was so powerful that I realized I couldn't make a pro version without kind of starting fresh, and that I had made a mistake for not separating it soon enough. And so I had to start Gravity View separately and try to promote Gravity View through my existing free plugin. But what I didn't do a good job of was transitioning the people from my Gravity Forms directory plugin into Gravity View by providing an easy upgrade path, by making clear the feature enhancements that would come with Gravity View. So I didn't do a great job of that transition either. But I'm glad that I kind of went premium only from then on, because it's hard to please everybody on .org, and I was tired of chasing stars. But I think that's a different topic altogether. And how about you, Katie? What's your experience with the giving away the farm?
So my main experience of free plugins is the exact opposite of Daniel's, which I think is useful for this show, because we looked at our most successful premium only plugins and did an analysis on which ones we thought might benefit from adding a free version as a marketing strategy to find an additional source of customers for those plugins. So we knew we had product market fit, we knew they were successful, and we knew what the premium features were. So we had to strip out what we thought were the the core features, I suppose, that everybody would need to design that free plugin in sort of the opposite way of what you did, I guess. So we thought, so we did it with our document library plugin, because out of all of our plugins, we identified that was the one with the biggest gap on WordPress.org. There weren't any clear market leaders at the time in that field. So we thought, let's do a free version of our document library plugin. So we looked at all the features and wrote a list of what was essential for a document library, whereas all the nice to haves became premium only. So we created a pared down version of our existing plugin, which of course isn't a massive project because you've already written them. It's just stripping stuff out. So a bigger part of the project was how to upsell people from free to pro, because the whole point of this really was to find people on WordPress.org and the plugin search in the admin, because we weren't appearing there at the time. So we've added upgrade links like on the WordPress.org page, in the setup wizard for the free plugin. So we would grey out premium features with a link to upgrade. We grayed out features on the settings page as well, so that it was really clear what you could get by upgrading. And when a whole group of features is premium only. Like, for example, the pro version has an import section, which doesn't even exist in free. We created that page anyway, but we put like an advert on it with a screenshot of what you could get if you upgraded. So we designed all of that in from day one because it was linked so closely with the premium plugin. And another thing we did that was a bit different is because this was only one marketing strand on an existing plugin, we don't actually advertise it at all on our website. It's just for people who are searching on WordPress.org, and I suppose they might find it in Google, but I hope they find my site instead. We try to outrank that because if you come on our site, it doesn't tell you there's a premium version. So we do all that. But interestingly, I've heard from various people recently, like I think Paid Memberships Pro have tried it, WP Fusion, etc., that if you put the free plugin in on your pricing table, then you actually get more paid conversions. So I may be wrong about my strategy there, and I'm interested to explore other people's experiences of it.
That's actually a quite novel strategy, though, touching back on what you said before, starting with the premium product. I haven't had a huge amount of success in the premium only field. Freemium has been really good to us. I've dabbled in the premium only. We have a Hoy, which isn't great, and we've looked at making a free version of that, but we're at this point just going to slowly migrate everything into Popup Maker with the bigger user base. I love the graying out settings. We do quite a bit of upselling in Dash. Not quite as explicitly, though I think we might steal some of that. We do rely heavily on the free version in our case because the free version is the core. Everything is built around the add-on model in ours, and so even the paid users would end up with the free version, if that makes sense. But we do find a substantial portion of our sales from UTM tracking comes from in-dash links and things like that.
Yeah, we're the same. The majority come from the settings page links in the admin, not from the WordPress.org page.
Those contextual links and upsells are probably the best upsells we have. Yeah.
And Daniel, what's your advice on using a framework like Freemius for people who are interested in delineating between free and paid, and or versus rolling your own kind of upgrade suite?
So I love what Freemius has to offer. I don't actually personally use them in any of our products, but we were kind of moving things and shaking things before Freemius came around. What they have done with the single repo where you can create your code for the pro and the free version in one, and then it automatically strips out the free version and generates, that's novel and yet very powerful feature. At the same time, I kind of go with the add-on model typically. I don't usually do the free versus pro replacement strategy. I find WordPress works best in a modular small package situation. So my preference is typically I like to control my own data and my own stuff like that. So I don't tend to lean towards using a product like Freemius on the commercial side, though we do use it for stat collection on some stuff. But if you're getting into this right now and you have a good idea and you want to see if it's viable to build a business around, Freemius will save you so much headache, so much setup, so much time, because it'll let you just focus on the product and not the store and all of the other surrounding aspects of taxes and everything else. So it's a great product for that, and I definitely highly recommend it, especially if you're going to go the freemium route where you're going to offer something in WordPress.org. The in-dash checkout is just it's an amazing feature.
Yeah, that must make a huge difference to your free to paid conversions, which is very difficult to replicate in something like Easy Digital Downloads.
Yeah, we're trying. It's not you're correct. It's a process.
And speaking of conversions, our co-host Amber Hines has a question. I'd be curious what you see as a good conversion rate from your free plugins.
This depends. I would say anywhere between 2 and 5%. If you're talking, I mean, I'd love to see 20%. That's ideal. And if you're talking about a platform like e-commerce, WooCommerce, or EDD or something like that, or even other platforms like LMSs, I can definitely see an uplift in a percentage of 20 to 30% because the premium features really just make the day. And anybody who's investing the time to creating the platform wants those upsells. For a less platform products, you're looking at somewhere between 2 to 10%. 10% being you're delivering a ton of value in your premium features, like money value to the end user, either massive amounts of new subscribers. Marketing stuff can do that pretty well, can convert at 5 to 10%. Popup Maker is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 6 or 2 to 5%. I think the last time we checked was around 3. And then I think content control is somewhere around the 1.5, but we just released a premium offering for that, so it's still too early to actually to judge that out. That's actually, with the repos, one of the most difficult things to track is the actual number of, because the active install count is not accurate. It's not an accurate representation of how many installs are available or how many new ones are coming and going. It's impossible to actually calculate this accurately. Freemius might be able to do it because they do the tracking of installs, but I'm not sure how you would do it outside of that.
Yeah, and that brings me to a kind of line of questioning that I have about whether being on .org is restricting in the sense of your monetization strategy and what you can do to differentiate between giving a free plugin away and charging for a plugin. If you give a free plugin away on your own website, you don't have to adhere to any rules that other people set. You can limit functionality by usage as long as it's GPL compatible. That's fine. But on WordPress.org, you're not allowed to arbitrarily set limits on the number of posts you can create or the number of pop-ups you can create. What do you say about that, Daniel?
I definitely like the idea of if you can do the marketing yourself and promote your product from your own website. I mean, let's just go back to the idea of yanking out a free feature and putting it in your paid version. The recourse wouldn't be there on a version on your own site because most likely you don't have open reviews. You can you to some degree going to control the flow of the negative reviews showing up on your site, if that makes sense. Most people do anyway. So you get a little bit of control there. On the other end, though, lost my train of thought.
And Katie, do you have any thoughts on the restrictive nature of .org's guidelines?
I think it is more than outweighed by the opportunity that it brings in terms of finding people. That's a huge opportunity, so we should go with that. But I'm just being impressed by Amber's free to paid conversion rate.
Good.
So accessibility checker is there. I mean, we went to paid almost straight away when we started using it on our sites, largely because we have multiple sites and we wanted to use it for each plugin and so on. But that's good, isn't it?
Amber says, we've been bouncing between 16 to 18% conversion, but I think it's probably because our numbers are small. I'm guessing as your free user base grows, that will go down. Yeah, that is an impressive number.
So we actually probably converted a higher percentage of our smaller plugins, and we also touch base with a higher percentage of those users, if that makes sense too. So once you get to the 100,000 and 500,000, you're rarely touching base with most of those users. They're set up, they're already active. It's an ongoing, kind of background relationship. It's hard to get their attention again until they actually need something.
Would they notice if you stripped a feature and moved it over to paid?
They absolutely do. That's when all of a sudden everybody who never talks to you comes out of the woodwork and re-reviews your plugin. And I've seen that from countless plugins. They've either done a branding change, and when the new brand and manager came in, they decided they wanted to rewrite the whole thing. And when the rewrite came out, they had lost about a bunch of functionality, or just straight up took product features and moved them to the pro version. And there's always a backlash. I will say, I can't say that it's necessarily always a net negative for the business, because sometimes on the back end, yes, you got 400. If you had 5,000 reviews like we do, we would immediately expect to see 10% of those flip to negative. But On the back end of that, if we're talking about doubling our potential revenue, I mean, I hate to do it, but it's possible. It's a good idea. So even that has to be weighed. But touching on your previous the restrictions of the WordPress.org, some of those can be used as an advantage. You mentioned like the arbitrary limitations. Yes, that's true. You can't put arbitrary limitations, but you can do. Oh, I'm gonna have to put a note in the comments afterwards. I have a better example. I just can't think of it. You can do workarounds to that that work within the guidelines and still. You can just not offer the ability. You can have one theme for your pop-ups, for example, and not offer the ability to create extra themes. Nobody has to know that post type for pop-up theme is there. So there are ways around this. It's structurally cumbersome because you're actually going to have to do extra work to hide things, if that makes sense. So those aren't a lot of those rules are good for the general organization, and I can appreciate where they've come from. And a lot of them can be pushed a little bit without too much strain. But you do have some strict limits there that do hurt you sometimes.
Yeah, Amber shared that they restrict scanning custom post types,
Yep.
and she believes that motivates a lot of conversions. So I guess what I'm hearing is that you do need to do a lot of thinking about your features before you put them on the repo.
It's
Yeah, it's an art, isn't it? What is free has to be what they'll need to do anything at all for that use case. But then you want to catch them with something that they really want, even if it's not essential. But custom post types actually is essential. If you have custom post types, you need to make sure they're accessible. So you can go a bit further.
Yep, and that's actually a great example of how it's not really an arbitrary limitation, but it is, because they already did the work for post types and tags and taxonomies. It's nothing to put in a for each loop and do the same thing for every taxonomy. It's just it's an easy holdback, right? Because it's something that it's not necessarily deemed an arbitrary limitation. So those rules are very flexible if you approach them the right way and determining what is actually arbitrary and what is not, if that makes sense. Like, yes, saying one post in a post type is an arbitrary limit, that is, but saying that we're not going to support every post type, that's not an arbitrary limit. Yep.
I haven't heard of anybody doing this, but I just had this idea, so I figured I'd share. It's for anybody's to use. You could have a different free version on .org and a different free version on your website with different limits, and so you could also have like a different feature set on your own website if that could help in any way. I don't know. There might be something there.
You say the free version on your site has a better feature than the one that's
and then you could use your own upgrade flow or something like that.
on your marketing channels.
Yeah,
exactly. And capture email addresses and things. So if you could get the communication on the two versions right, which would be the biggest challenge, then you could provide an incentive to do it via your website.
I'm just imagining the maintenance headaches of managing an extra product for one feature. That seems a lot. There's a lot of good paths for freemium. The key is to deliver value, right? So you have to deliver. It's just like creating good content. Yes, you can write content for SEO and you can do good rankings, but if your product looks like doo-doo, if you look like you don't belong in the WordPress, I mean, this is a big one for us. We try to make everything appear like it's part of the WordPress interface. Like, we don't do bright, shiny colors that don't match anything. I think that goes a long way to just reinforcing what people feel is comfortable once they've installed it. If they install it and it suddenly looks completely different, they're thrown off, right? But the key with the freemium thing, I think, if you're going to use it as a source for traffic, is to really focus on what you're ranking for and focus on the overall search rankings you are getting in WordPress.org. It has its own search algorithms, and you can, to some degree, manipulate those to your advantage. I highly recommend putting in automated review requests, especially something that's based on value delivered or some kind of metric. We do based on the number of pop-up views you've had for your visitors. And every now and then you see a review that comes in and says, "Oh, we just hit 1 million pop-up views. I'm so excited!" And those reviews really are awesome. But we've driven almost 5,000 reviews with automated reviews. So we started with 600 manually collected reviews of asking people in support, and then put in automation to solicit those other ones. And it's driven a ton over the last years. Automation is huge. Translations are huge if you can get people translating your plugin. And then focusing on not letting support tickets lag. That's a huge one. And then if you're really trying to drive value, every support ticket is a potential feature request. And that doesn't always come in the form of a new feature. Sometimes it comes in the form of rewriting an existing feature to be less support burdensome, like support reduction as a practice. Is one thing we've practiced, and that's helped us a lot as we've scaled as well. 700,000 users with only 2 support people would not be possible if we hadn't done so much reduction of support, I don't think.
Yeah, Amber's got some useful tips. She says they created a 4-quadrant feature map, graphing its importance as a key feature versus willingness to pay.
Yep.
And she goes on to say, some things are really important but are just expected functionality, so people won't pay for them and would abandon free if the feature wasn't there. So yeah, I think that's really good advice, to really list out the features by category and the psychology that would lead to people using the free plugin or paying for a premium version.
And how has this changed over time, the expectations that people have about what's included in a plugin versus what's paid?
That's a good question. It definitely has changed. And I think it's relaxed quite a bit towards the commercial side. I think when I first started this, everyone's expectation was that everything in WordPress was free. There were very few
Yeah.
commercial plugins at 11 years ago, 12 years ago when I started Popup Maker. And that has drastically changed. Almost every plugin in the top 100 plugins now has a commercial version available. Very few of them don't. And even the ones who don't have monetized in other ways, either through support or content marketing and ads and stuff like that. So the landscape has definitely become more palatable for a developer to build a product. People are definitely willing to pay. I'm actually quite shocked at how high prices for some plugins can be. And then yet you see them selling and regularly. Like it's almost shocking how many people use their product when they're extremely so high priced. But at the same time, they're building a business on the back of this value. So a $500 a year plugin is not that expensive if you're going to generate $10,000 a month from it, or whatever your revenue goal is. So it's definitely gotten better for monetizing. The taste for premium features, premium support, premium offerings has definitely improved over the years.
Yeah, my IDX Plus plugin back in the day, this was 2012. I charged $7.99 for it per year, and as in $799. So once you know your market, that becomes available, and realtors were willing to pay it because that was important functionality for them. But
Wow.
knowing your market can be really tricky on WordPress.org.
Depends on the plugin, really, too. In a real estate plugin, you kind of know your market. They're almost all going to be real estate agents, right?
Yeah, that's true.
With the more general utility plugin like Popup Maker, where you can interact with dozens of other products, it's less so, because you might think that the majority of our users are probably marketing based, but I would actually say that they're not. I would say the majority of our users wanted to do something like show a contact menu in a modal window when they click the contact menu item on their main nav. They don't want to take them to another page every time. So that use case doesn't really serve a purpose in terms of upselling. There's no value I can deliver to that person. So we don't really focus on those. And if you consider that's probably 40 to 50% of our user base, that means we're realistically only marketing to about 350,000, right? So it changes the profile for sure. And there are lots of different user personas that get plugins on WordPress.org. And defining yours is actually going to be very tricky unless you know your product. Some products you can easily look at and tell what who your target audience is. Some not so much.
Yeah, definitely. So before we finish, I've got one more question. So as I said earlier, I came up with our free document library plugin by ruthlessly going through the premium features and deciding what to put in free. But how do you know when you've gone too far and not put enough in your free plugin? And the reason I ask is because my husband and business partner Andy believes we do not give away enough, and that we would get better reviews, for example, and more people using the free plugin if we gave away a bit more. Whereas I'm like, oh, I don't want to put people off buying the premium version by giving away more, so they have no reason to upgrade. So do you have any tips, either of you, about when it is too little to put in your free plugin?
I'll let Zach go first on that one.
Yeah, so I'll talk about how much to put into my paid plugin, because a Gravity View is a paid plugin, but we also have another tier that adds extensions to our paid plugin. And it's always a balance for us to decide whether or not to put something into the core plugin or to put it into an extension. And we have a very popular feature that we have decided to keep in an extension because of the business reasons for it. And it is possible for us to add it to the core plugin. But time and again, I have had to make the decision, and it's a tough one because I want to give users as much functionality as possible. But I know that this functionality, this feature, is worth that much more for people. So we've kept it in an extension, and I hate that. But it's also the decision that we've been making for year after year. And every year I come back to asking myself, should we move this to core? And there's always the 80-20 rule for, whether if 80% of your customers want something maybe included in the core product and have the 20% be paid. That is easy to say and hard to do because it's so hard to take it back. If you put it into core, it's in core forever, like Daniel was talking about. So it's not been an easy decision for us, but we've kept it in an extension, and that's one example of not wanting to give away the farm.
If I was going the opposite direction and looking at what to put into a free version, I would probably go the route of what can they not live without? What purpose does this product serve for the free version? Like, it's got to serve some lesser purpose than the premium version, right? And then I would make sure that it has everything it needs to do that. So the weighting of that individual feature would be based on delivering that initial core value, or is it above and beyond that initial core offering? Or does it solidify that initial core offering in a way that doesn't hurt my premium offering? Because that if you can add something that takes you and a competitor and differentiates you a little bit more, then that's a huge win, because it's just one more reason people are going to pick you. It's simple to dismiss a list of features on a product page until you're comparing 3 or 4 products and you don't see that you really like this one, but you don't see this one feature you see in all the others, and you're like, I kind of really feel like I need that now that I've seen that it can be done. So that's where I would balance at, is looking at what your competitors are doing, looking at what the baseline user must have to have a good experience, and then go from there. Use your judgment, though. It's always good to give away some stuff, some charity in the WordPress world anyway. So
I found it's so easy for me to get in a trap where I assume that all customers, all users have perfect knowledge of the other alternatives that are out there, that they've all done their research, that they all open multiple tabs like I do when I'm looking into something. I have 50 tabs open, and I just like cycle through the tabs, and I have decision paralysis. I think it also comes down to making a decision and saying, like, even if we aren't differentiating by having more features, maybe that's okay. Like, that's also a choice you can make, where don't assume that your customers know everything and can choose based on fact-based reasoning, because people are not fact-based; they're emotion-based. So I don't know. That's a tough combination there.
I mean, this touching back on what we said earlier, you man, brain just went in circles again. We
We were talking about comparing different feature sets and
yes,
assuming the customers know everything. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, you can get away with not having features in your free version. This goes back to what I was saying earlier about just making your product all around better. If you look at all of your competitors and they don't blend into WordPress like a natural thing, that could be your advantage.
Right.
For some reason in the WordPress space, people like it when everything feels natural. So don't always look for a feature as an advantage. Maybe it's the user interface. Maybe they've got a wall of checkboxes and you can make some more intuitive, like add remove kind of system or something like that. So making a better product doesn't always have to be about features. Sometimes it literally is about usability, and honestly, usability is not always people's first thought process when you're building a product for money, because usability doesn't drive sales. But what it does drive is it does solidify you as the better product, and over time that contributes to the trickle down into your sales from new users acquired through different sources as being the best product.
Yeah, and getting your foot in the door is worth a lot of money, and giving away something for free, like WP Forms has become a big player in the form space. Gravity Forms doesn't have a free version, so that's a complication for them to make their case that people should pay, even though there's free demo sites and everything like that. But giving something away is also a benefit. Anything is better than nothing when it comes to being where customers are trying tools.
Yeah, and while you're talking about giving stuff away, don't skimp on the support. That is one thing we've never that's one thing we've never skimped on. We pretty much provide the exact same level of support for our free users that we do for our premium users. So our paid users are at the first of the queue, obviously, but after that, the free users get the same level of attentiveness to solving their problem. We don't even consider ourselves support reps. We consider ourselves success reps. Because at the end of the day, what built Popup Maker and all of our products was exactly that. It was listening to the users, not just solving their problems, but seeing their pain points and slowly working in new ways to address that. The number of reviews you'll get from quality support, it far exceeds the amount of time you're going to spend doing it. Each ticket every review stacks up. And then if you're on the WordPress.org, just to reinforce this, the number of closed support tickets and the number of high reviews you have all play into your search rankings inside WordPress plugin search. So if you have a bunch of unsolved tickets and open tickets or low ratings, all of this goes to you not ranking well, right? So you need to provide better support. That's going to go to your bottom line eventually.
And Daniel, would you say that that's your best support, your best suggestion for new product owners? Like, what's your best advice for new product owners when they're trying to put this all together?
Just put it out there. Honestly, the biggest thing is definitely follow your users. If the users are trending one way in support, try to stay ahead of them. If you're seeing a common support issue, don't necessarily treat it as necessarily just a bug that needs to be fixed. Sometimes treat it as something that maybe you need to redevelop the entire interface to reduce this support request entirely. Those kinds of things can go a long way especially if you're looking to scale. But 90% of the awesomeness that is Popup Maker came from support requests and feature requests, whether it was from this plugin or the one that came before it. And then, everything that's followed after that has been because of listening to the users, if that makes sense.
Yeah. How about you, Katie? What's your best advice?
Yeah, think about it from the user's perspective and their experience, because it's not always just about a list of features, although that's important. For example, imagine if you've got a really long settings page and 90% of the settings are grayed out and say premium only. That's just going to annoy people. So it's about how to think about, this is a great, really comprehensive free plugin. and for even better features that are even more valuable and will make you money, then you should upgrade. So it's about how to achieve that message through your free plugin.
Yeah, and I also think that my best advice is to follow the money and what makes people money, and that's a good point to charge them or to offer a differentiating factor. So get them all the way to success, except for them charging their visitors on their website money, and then you can charge for your premium, like gateways, for example. Except sometimes your gateways give you commission, and you might want to integrate that for free, which is becoming more and more the case.
That's an important point. If you make money another way, maybe make
Yeah.
that free. Yeah.
Yeah, and Gravity PDF is an example I'm thinking of. They have a free plugin on WordPress.org, and they charge for customization, and they charge for helping you set up and white glove service. And so that's another opportunity that you could say, I'm going to give away a lot of functionality, but get some money in some other way, because if your business is structured that way, then that can make sense.
Yeah, definitely. So finally, we have a comment from Amber. Before you sign off, I have to shout out Daniel's efforts on accessibility in Popup Maker. They've done a great job and it's awesome. So definitely something that all product makers should be doing. Well, that's a wrap. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you online?
It's been lovely to be here. You can find me on Twitter, Daniel_Iser, Iser. I don't do a lot of Facebook, but I'm on GitHub, WordPress.org, Twitch every now and then. All the same name, basically. Some with underscore, some without. But yeah, that's a wrap.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Daniel, and special thanks to Post Status for being our green room where we coordinate. If you're enjoying these shows, please do us a favor and hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends, reference this show in your newsletters, subscribe on your podcast player. And most of all, we hope to see you next week. Thanks, and bye.